A locked door is supposed to mean the night has ended. The sign goes dark. The register goes quiet. Someone turns the last key and walks away with the small private comfort that whatever happened in that building is over until morning. But some places do not close. Not because customers keep coming, because closing would let the wrong thing leave. Welcome back to Midnight Echo Radio. I'm Seraphine Corven. Tonight we have 4 night shift stories from places that kept their lights on long after they should have gone dark. A laundromat where the dryers never emptied. A storage facility that breathed behind the roll-up doors. A hospital gift shop that sold sympathy cards too early. And a toll booth where the receipts knew how the drivers would die. Keep the volume low tonight. Some buildings stay open for you. Some stay open against you. Story 1. The Laundromat on Vesper Street. The laundromat on Vesper Street never had a closing time, but everyone in the neighborhood knew when to stop going. Midnight was fine. 1 in the morning was pushing it. After 2, the windows looked different. The fluorescence inside went from white to a thin blue that made skin look rinsed clean of blood, and the rows of machines reflected each other so deeply in the glass that the place seemed longer than it was. I started working there because the manager paid cash and never asked why I needed nights. His name was Mr. Alden. He showed me how to empty the lint traps, reset the coin jams, mop around the vending machine, and ignore the dryers on the back wall. There were 6 of them, older than the others, all with scratched chrome doors and heat-warped handles. "They run cold," he told me. I laughed because I thought he meant they were broken. He did not laugh back. "If they start, let them finish. If they stop, do not open them. If someone asks for their clothes from the back wall, tell them we lost the key. There's no key to a dryer. There is after 2. That was my training. For the first week, nothing happened except ordinary sadness. People washed uniforms. Students washed blankets. A woman in a hospital badge slept with her forehead against a folding table while her scrubs spun in the machine. At 1:30, the last regular would leave, and the place would belong to humming motors, wet tile, and me. The back dryers stayed dark. Then, on the 8th night, dryer 31 started on its own. No coins dropped, no button clicked. It just gave a heavy mechanical cough and began turning. Inside was a bundle of clothes I had not seen anyone load. Dark jeans, a gray hoodie, white socks pressed wet against the round window. They slapped the glass slowly. Not like laundry. Like something inside had palms. I stepped toward it with the ring of maintenance keys in my hand, then remembered Mr. Alden's face when he said, "Let them finish." So I sat behind the counter and watched dryer 31 turn for 47 minutes. The clothes never dried. Steam crawled from the seam around the door and gathered on the floor in a low white layer. It smelled like rainwater and old pennies. At 2:53, the machine stopped. The bell gave one soft ding. I did not open it. At 3:05, a man came in barefoot. He wore a t-shirt soaked through with water. His hair was plastered flat to his head. He did not look around. He walked straight to the counter and said, "I'm here for my hoodie." I told him we had lost the key. He blinked at me. Water ran from his sleeves onto the counter. His fingers were wrinkled and pale. "I need it," he said. "It has my phone in the pocket." I almost looked at dryer 31. Almost. Instead, I said, Come back when the manager's here." The man leaned closer. His breath smelled like a basement after a flood. I can hear it ringing. Behind me, from inside Dryer 31, a phone began to vibrate. Not ring, vibrate. A low, frantic buzzing against metal. The drum shifted once. The wet hoodie pressed itself to the glass as though the pocket had grown heavy. The man smiled with relief. "There," he whispered. "That's mine." I picked up the little brass bell on the counter and rang it 3 times, the way Mr. Alden told me to do if I ever needed him. I did not know whether he lived upstairs, across town, or nowhere at all. But on the 3rd ring, the office door opened behind me. Mr. Alden stepped out wearing the same brown cardigan he always wore, buttoned wrong. The barefoot man stopped smiling. "You know the rule," Mr. Alden said. The man's face changed. The wetness did not. His features loosened like cloth in water. "It was only one thing," the man said. "I left one thing." "You all do." The phone kept buzzing inside the dryer. Mr. Alden reached under the counter and took out a black ledger. He opened it to a page already marked with the man's name. I saw a date beside it, 3 years earlier. The man backed toward the door. The bell above it trembled, though the door had not opened. "You cannot keep me here," he said. "I'm not keeping you," Mr. Alden answered. "I'm keeping what came back in your clothes." That was when all 6 dryers on the back wall started at once. The laundromat filled with the sound of wet fabric beating against glass. Hoodies, work pants, children's shirts, a dress with yellow flowers, a black suit jacket that turned by itself, sleeves reaching and collapsing. Faces pushed through the clothes from the inside, not visible enough to name, but close enough to know they were facing me. Mr. Alden closed the ledger. "Behind the counter," he said. I obeyed. The barefoot man ran for Dryer 31 and grabbed the handle. The door did not open outward. It opened in. His arm went first, then his shoulder. He screamed once, but the dryers swallowed the sound, and the glass fogged white. When the machine closed again, it was empty, except for the gray hoodie, turning slowly in cold air. Mr. Alden waited until dawn before he spoke. "People leave things behind," he said. "Keys, phones, coats, bodies. Sometimes grief. Sometimes whatever followed them in their last moments. Our job is to keep those things tumbling until morning." I quit 2 weeks later, but I still pass Vesper Street sometimes. The laundromat is always lit, no matter the hour. And last winter, after my mother died, I got a call from her number at 2:47 in the morning. I let it ring. Then I drove across town and stood outside the laundromat until sunrise. Dryer 31 was running. Inside, something pale and familiar pressed a hand against the glass. I did not go in. I loved her enough not to open the door. Story 2, Unit C19. The storage facility sat beside the interstate, a long grid of orange doors and security lights with half the bulbs burned out. On paper, it was called Ridgeway Self-Storage. The overnight guards called it the Lung. I found that out during my first shift when the day manager handed me a flashlight, a radio with a dead battery, and a clipboard of units that needed lock checks. "Walk the rows every hour," she said. "If you hear anything moving inside a unit, write the number down and keep walking." What if someone's trapped? They're not trapped. What if it's a break-in? It isn't. Then she hesitated at the door and added, if C19 is open, do not look inside. Close the office blinds, sit with your back to the wall, and wait for the sound to stop. What sound? You'll know, because you'll start breathing with it. At 11, the facility felt normal. Wind along metal doors, trucks passing on the interstate, the smell of dust, oil, and sun-baked concrete still lifting from the pavement. At midnight, the rows changed. Not visibly, not all at once, but the place seemed to inhale between my footsteps. I would pause, and the silence would continue moving without me. My clipboard listed 112 units, A through H. Most were locked with cheap brass padlocks. Some had 3 locks, the way people secure things they are ashamed to lose. Furniture, baby clothes, divorce boxes, a motorcycle covered in a tarp, a grandfather clock with no hands. At 1 o'clock, I heard coughing from D7. It was a dry cough, a human cough, the kind that hurts. I wrote D7 on the clipboard and kept walking. At 1:12, something knocked twice from inside A3. I wrote A3. At 1:40, every lock in row B clicked once, in order, from B1 to B28. I did not write that down because my hand would not stop shaking. By 2, I understood the nickname. The whole facility breathed. The roll-up doors bowed inward on the inhale and relaxed on the exhale. Not enough to break, just enough to notice. The lights dimmed when it drew breath. The chain-link fence rattled softly when it let air out. I went back to the office and checked the cameras. Every feed showed the same row, C row. C19 sat in the center of every monitor. Its orange door was open about 6 inches. A strip of darkness showed beneath it. Not empty darkness, wet darkness, like looking into a mouth. I closed the office blinds. Then I sat with my back to the wall. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then someone knocked on the office door. A woman's voice said, "Excuse me, I need to get into my unit." I looked at the clock, 2:17. The rules did not mention customers. I opened the little pass-through window, keeping the door locked. The woman outside was maybe 35, wearing a beige coat and holding a banker's box against her chest. Her eyes were red, but dry. "My husband's things are in C19, she said. "I know it's late. I have the code." I told her access hours were over. She looked past me at the closed blinds. "It's open, isn't it?" I did not answer. "He always said he would come back for the blue suitcase," she said. I thought that was grief talking. Then the facility called me. The facility? My phone rang, no number, just a voicemail of him breathing. Behind the blinds, the storage rows inhaled. The woman hugged the box tighter. "I only need 1 minute." I was new. That is the only excuse I have. I unlocked the office door. We walked to C row together under security lights that flickered in pairs. C19 was open wider now. A cold draft moved out along the ground. The woman set the banker's box down. Inside C19, I could see stacked furniture, plastic bins, a mattress wrapped in cloudy plastic, and a blue suitcase standing upright in the back. It was breathing. The suitcase expanded and sank like a chest. The woman began to cry without sound. "He packed that before the accident," she whispered. "He said we were leaving." "Don't go in." She stepped over the threshold. The facility inhaled so hard my ears popped. Every door in C row rolled up 6 inches. Dozens of dark gaps opened at once. From behind them came the sound of people taking their first breath after being underwater too long. The woman reached the suitcase. Its zipper opened by itself. A man's hand came out, gray and folded wrong at the wrist. She took it. I shouted her name, though she had never told me what it was. That is when I felt the facility notice me. Not see me, breathe me. My lungs matched it. In, out, in, out. I tried to run, but my body waited for the next inhale before my legs would move. The open units whispered numbers at me. A3, D7, B12, H4. Spaces full of everything people could not keep in their homes and could not bear to throw away. C19's door began to close. The woman did not scream. She was holding someone in the dark, and from the sound she made, I think she was happy. I got back to the office on the exhale. The door to C19 slammed shut behind me. In the morning, the day manager found me sitting on the floor with the clipboard in my lap. Every blank line was filled with the same unit number. C19, C19, C19. She took the clipboard and sighed. "People store the strangest things," she said. A week later, I drove by Ridgeway Self-Storage in daylight. There was no C row. The map showed A, B, D, E, F, G, and H. When I asked the office clerk about C19, she gave me the tired look of someone who had heard a joke too many times. "We don't have a C row," she said. Then the radio behind her crackled, though it was turned off. A man's voice breathed into the speaker, and every storage door behind the office bowed inward at once. Story 3. The gift shop on the 4th floor. Hospitals do not sleep. They only lower their voices. I worked security at St. Bartholomew's during the years when the old wing was still open, before they boarded the 4th floor and moved the maternity ward to the new building. The 4th floor had 3 things by then: empty patient rooms, a chapel no one used, and a gift shop that should have closed at 9. It never did. The sign said "Sunflower Gifts" in peeling yellow letters. During the day, volunteers sold balloons, stuffed bears, crossword books, and cards for every ordinary emergency. "Get well soon. Congratulations. Thinking of you. Sorry for your loss." After midnight, the lights stayed on, but the volunteers went home. My supervisor told me to pass the shop during rounds, make sure the gate was down, and never buy anything. "Who would I buy something from?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment. "Exactly." On my 3rd week, I found the gate halfway up. The shop lights were warm and gold, too pleasant for that floor. A little music box played somewhere inside. The air smelled like carnations and dust. Behind the counter stood an elderly woman in a blue volunteer vest. I had seen the volunteer schedule. No one named Eleanor was listed, but her name tag said Eleanor in careful black letters. "You're out late," she said. "So are you." She smiled. "People need things at night." I told her the shop was closed. "Oh, honey," she said. "Not yet." I radioed the desk. Static answered. Not empty static. The soft friction of tissue paper being folded. Eleanor reached under the counter and brought out a sympathy card. It was ivory, with a watercolor lily on the front. "This one is for room 412, she said. "Would you mind taking it?" I looked down the hall. Room 412 was occupied by a man recovering from gallbladder surgery. I had seen him earlier, sitting up, complaining loudly about the pudding. "He's not dead." Eleanor slid the card toward me. "Not yet." I backed away. At 3:18, the code bell rang. Room 412. By morning, the man's family had filled the hall. Someone had bought flowers from Sunflower Gifts, though the register tape showed no sale. On my next shift, the gate was down. A sympathy card for room 407 sat on the floor outside it. I did not touch it. At 2:06, room 407 coded. After that, I learned the rhythm. If the shop presented a card before midnight, the patient had until morning. If it presented one after 2, the room was already listening. I told myself I was only security. I was not a doctor. I was not family. I could not stop whatever the 4th floor knew. Then my sister was admitted. Car accident, internal bleeding. Surgery went well enough that the surgeon used careful words like stable and optimistic. They put her in room 416 because the new wing was full. I was off duty, but I stayed. I sat by her bed and watched the monitors make green little mountains beside her face. At 1:43, I heard the music box. I left her room and walked to Sunflower Gifts. The gate was up. Eleanor stood behind the counter with a white box tied in silver ribbon. "No," I said. Her expression softened. "I'm sorry." "No." She placed the box on the counter. The tag read, room 416. I grabbed it and threw it across the shop. It hit a display of porcelain angels and burst open. Inside was a baby blanket. Not new. The one my sister had when she was small. Pink at the edges. Burn mark near one corner from a space heater we were never supposed to touch. I had not seen it in 20 years. Eleanor watched me with patient sadness. "Some gifts arrive early," she said. "Some arrive late." I ran back to room 416. My sister was awake. She looked at me and said, "Why does it smell like Mom's house?" Behind me, the hallway lights dimmed one by one. I closed her door. Then I shoved a chair under the handle, as if death had ever respected furniture. At 2 o'clock, someone knocked. A soft, polite knock. I did not answer. At 2:01, the knock came again. My sister's monitor jumped. At 2:02, a voice outside the door said my name in my mother's voice. My mother had been dead for 9 years. "She forgot her blanket," the voice said. My sister began to cry. I held her hand and told her to listen to my voice, not the hallway. The knocking moved lower on the door, like someone kneeling, then higher, like someone too tall to fit under the ceiling. At 2:07, the door handle turned against the chair. At 2:08, the gift shop register began printing down the hall. I heard receipt paper pouring onto the floor. At 2:09, Eleanor whispered through the door, "You cannot keep a present from its recipient." I did the only thing I could think to do. I opened the window. 4th floor, February. Freezing air rushed into the room and scattered the hospital smell. My sister gasped. The monitor alarmed. Nurses shouted somewhere too far away. The knocking stopped. The voice outside said, "No longer my mother. That is not where this belongs." "Then come get it," I said. I threw the baby blanket out the window. For 1 second, it floated in the hospital floodlights. Then something huge moved below us, hidden by the ambulance bay awning, and caught it. The door burst open. Eleanor stood there alone, her blue vest buttoned neatly, her face wet with tears. "You should not have seen that," she said. My sister lived. The old wing closed 3 months later. Officially, it was asbestos. Unofficially, too many families complained about receiving sympathy cards dated before the deaths. They walled off the 4th floor, but on night shifts, security still gets calls from that hallway. A music box, a register printing, a woman asking whether they sell cards for someone who is not dead yet, but will be by morning. And sometimes, when I pass a hospital gift shop, I check the sympathy rack. Not for names, for rooms. Story 4. Receipt Lane. The toll booth was the last manned lane on a road that had forgotten men could work lanes at all. Everything else was cameras, transponders, license plate scans, automatic billing. But Lane 7 stayed open from dusk until dawn because the state said some drivers still needed cash service. That was the explanation on the hiring paperwork. My trainer, Luis, gave me the real one. Lane 7 takes payment from people the cameras cannot keep. He showed me the booth. Narrow window, cash drawer, old printer, emergency button that he told me not to press unless I wanted the police to find the booth empty. "When the printer jams, do not reach inside," he said. "When the barrier arm lifts before they pay, let them go. When a receipt prints without a car in the lane, fold it face down and put it in the red box." "What's on the receipts?" Luis looked out at the dark road. "Sometimes just tolls." My first cars were ordinary. A nurse with exact change. A trucker who smelled like cigarettes and cinnamon gum. A college kid who apologized because all he had was a 20. At 12:44, a black sedan stopped at the window. The driver was a woman with both hands on the wheel. She looked straight ahead and did not blink. $2, I said. She handed me a 5. The printer woke before I touched the button. It printed a receipt slowly, line by line. Toll paid, $2. Lane 7. Time, then my own name printed. Toll paid, $2. Lane 7. Time, 1:17 a.m. Mile marker. Cause, unauthorized mercy. Time of death, pending. The woman smiled then, not cruelly, sadly. "You changed the fare," she said. The barrier arm behind her lifted by itself, but she did not drive forward. Something else was coming down the lane behind her, not a car. A procession of headlights stacked impossibly far into the dark, all moving without engine noise. I could see shapes behind windshields. Some burned, some drowned. Some sat upright with heads turned at angles that should have killed them faster. All of them held receipts. I hit the emergency button. Every light on the plaza went out. In the dark, the printer kept working. Luis had said not to reach inside if it jammed. He did not say what to do if it screamed. The paper caught, tore, and made a sound like someone choking on tape. I grabbed the printer with both hands and ripped it from the counter. Sparks spat against the glass. The window exploded inward. Rain blew through the booth, though the sky above me was clear. The black sedan's door opened. The woman stepped out. Past her, the line of silent headlights waited. I threw the printer into the cash drawer and slammed it shut. The booth shook. The red box under the counter opened by itself, full of folded receipts I had not put there. Thousands of them, maybe millions, each one breathing softly as the paper flexed. I took the receipt with my name on it. Then I folded it face down and put it in the red box. The booth went still. When the lights came back, Lane 7 was empty. No sedan, no rain, no line of cars. Only Luis standing outside the booth, looking older than he had the morning before. "You paid?" he asked. "I put it in the box." He nodded once. "That buys time." "How much?" "Depends how much mercy cost." I quit at sunrise. I moved 2 states away. I avoid toll roads now, even automated ones, especially automated ones. But last month, an envelope arrived with no return address. Inside was a receipt. Toll paid, $2. Lane 7. Time, 12 a.m. Mile marker. Home. Cause, balance due. Time of death, see reverse. I have not turned it over. It is in a red shoebox under my bed. Every night at midnight, the lid lifts 1 inch, and from far away, where there is no highway near my house, I hear a barrier arm rise. Closing. 4 places, 4 night shifts. 4 doors that stayed unlocked because something worse was waiting on the other side of closing. If you work nights, you already know this. A building changes when everyone else leaves it. The hum gets louder. The corners get deeper. The machines sound less like machines. And sometimes, when the clock passes 2 and the lights refuse to go out, the kindest thing you can do is leave the sign on. This has been Midnight Echo Radio. I'm Seraphine Corven. Lock the door if you must, but if something inside knocks to be let out, do not call it closed.